In the age of the internet and social media's grand rise within social issues, many fashion brands and houses have had to make very important decisions on where they stand addressing racism, representation, and cultural exclusion, some being very insightful and leading to true change, while others have been greatly embarrassing and lacking true care and responsibility. This all drawing the question, where's the line between performative and progression? As a baseline for our discussion, let's define not only performative activism, but also performative activism in the fashion industry. Performative activism is the act of taking superficial actions in order to obtain a certain public image, or to keep up with what everyone else thinks about a certain topic. For example, during the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020, when people would post black squares in solidarity with the movement, yet they would never think of stepping an actual foot out to protest. This practice is further expanded upon by the fashion industry, where instead of some white girl posting a black square from her high-rise apartment in New York, it's a mega fashion brand that has an extreme level of outreach, like Gucci, H&M, or Prada, which each have skeletons in their own closets respectively, but trust me, we will get to that eventually. Many of these brands tend to use similar methods of performative activism, all attempting to improve their PR with varying results. This is done normally by announcing some type of program or initiative to combat some sort of inequity with the lack of a follow-through. Which actually brings us to our first example, Fashion Nova. Fashion Nova, a company best known for their fast fashion practices and their quick turnaround with styles, have had their own troubles with performative activism. During the BLM protests of 2020, they posed as a company taking the initiative to care about racial equity as well as supporting meaningful change. They did this by posting various messages saying that they support the black community as well as pledging money and resources to social justice causes. According to an article by Vox, Fashion Nova stated, "Our actions speak louder than our words and pledge to donate $1 million to various community resources and activism awareness campaigns and other initiatives to help in the fight for racial equality and opportunity." Which in theory sounds very inclusive and helpful for cultural equity, but in practice there wasn't much done to further this concept of action speaking louder than words. As even though their company tends to portray a very pro-black culture in their marketing and clothing, they haven't done much to further this concept of action speaking louder than words. They tend to lack in the department of actually helping black creators, as they have been seen stealing clothing designs from certain black creatives and creators. For example, in November 2023, when a brand named Hanafa released a multicolored dress retailing for about $1,098. In turn, Fashion Nova released a dress for about $55, both a drop in quality and in price. Now, it could be stated that the pricing of the original dress could make sense for Fashion Nova to create a lesser cost alternative option, but when a company like Fashion Nova steals designs from independent brands, not only do they suck up the profits of the independent brand, they also suck up a good portion of the possible customers that that brand might have. It also must be stated that these independent brands are people's livelihoods, so in a situation like this, Fashion Nova risks putting the owners out of business. Especially harmful for the PLC creators, as they tend to not have the same financial backing as their white counterparts. Now, this isn't the first, nor second, nor third, nor will it be the last time that they've done something like this. Yet, they will continue to paint the picture that they are improving racial equality and boosting opportunity. Simply put, when they take the designs of these independent black creators, they are directly driving business and profits right out from under them. It must also be stated that they can flip out these remakes faster and sell them for cheaper, in the end limiting the opportunity for these black creators to grow greatly. Going back to what they are mostly known for, with having a fast turnaround with styles. As a fast fashion company, they have also benefited from the exploitation of marginalized communities through the practice of sweatshops. According to an article by The Cut, these sweatshops placed in LA took advantage of mostly Latina immigrants, some being undocumented, paying below minimum wages at a whopping $2.77, combined with unsafe and gross conditions described by Mercedes Cortez, saying, "There were cockroaches, there were rats." Cortez says that she was paid about $270 for 60-hour work weeks. It's somewhat interesting that Fashion Nova stated that their actions speak louder than words when their actions were sweatshops and stealing from black creatives and creators. Grade A example of performative activism. For our next example, we have the Gucci blackface sweater controversy. In February 2019, Gucci released a turtleneck to cover the lower half of the face, which I first thought isn't anything bad actually, almost somewhat innovative. Where the issue came in though was the slit through the mouth that looked like big red lips when the sweater was put on all the way, which struck an overwhelming resemblance to a certain entertainment of the Jim Crow South. The sweater is simply too similar to blackface for it to be a coincidence. This had absolutely had to have been intentional. Either way, this design shouldn't have made it past the team of designers, or any person for that regard, really. What hurts the situation even more is that it occurred in February, also known as Black History Month. Also, the damn sweater was worth $890, a crazy amount for something of this character. Due to the public outrage, Gucci eventually removed the sweater from its stores, eventually leading to them apologizing for their action, in turn making them create a DEI program called the Gucci Changemakers Program. Womp womp. This program originally pledged to offer $5 million in community resources as well as $1.5 million in scholarships. Now, even though the turnaround did have a couple of key programs set up to help marginalized communities, it only came after the fact, after the incidents of racial insensitivity. These programs were clearly performative in nature and heart, as in no way was Gucci gonna do this on its own accord. Only came after mounting public backlash. All in all, the key takeaway is that post-scandal, all Gucci did was give an insincere apology, as well as only indulging in surface-level reforms, which is truly performative activism at best, racial insensitivity at worst. Similar to Gucci, Prada in 2018 came under fire for very similar reasons, mostly for their look-alike Sambo figurines. Now, for those who don't know, Sambo was a racist caricature and stereotype that was introduced in an 1899 book called The Story of Little Black Sambo, written by a white Scottish woman. Sambo mainly is used to dehumanize black people, considering them as one make and unintelligent, even lacking the brain capacity to have more than one expression, that being goofy. Sambos are characterized with pitch black skin, big red lips, and really wide eyes with a very simple expression. A blatant racist caricature that you simply can't miss. Yet, Prada still managed to do this with both figurines and with keychains. Seen in this picture with its huge big fat red lips, with pitch black skin. The resemblance is uncanny and extremely questionable, especially when you put the two right next to each other as they look just like each other. Similar to what happened at Gucci, the Prada situation showed a lack of insight. Separate from Gucci though, Prada tried to explain that their figurines were simply imaginary creatures that were fantasy-like, while still being ungrounded from the real world. Doesn't really make sense. There's probably something to be said about the likening of a historically racist caricature to being an imaginary character, and how it almost means that the history of Sambo is unreal and imaginary. Post-backlash, Prada essentially did the same thing that Gucci did, creating both a DEI council as well as a hiring and scholarship initiative. All things that probably helped at a certain time, but the issue comes in when you realize that it was more reactive than proactive, only coming after mounting public backlash. In the years after, Prada has also failed to be completely transparent with their DEI improvements. Hence, it was only performative activism. At the end of the day, it was only being done to get the public opinion off of their back. And for all we know, these programs could be completely discontinued as they're not transparent with what actually happened with the DEI programs. Now that we have spoke about the various performative action moments within high fashion, I would like to take some time to highlight one of my favorite fashion brands within Telfar. Telfar was first created in 2005, growing over the past 20 years with their sleek, minimal bags. Seen as a quiet luxury brand, not only does Telfar subvert the normal narrative by getting most of its publicization from word to mouth, but also by making sure that anyone can get a bag by its bag security program. Making sure that anyone can indulge within the luxury brand, unlike a Supreme or Fear of God, where exclusivity is all that rules. Catering to its wider audience by not only making it accessible, but also not riding off of the same namesake that other brands do of not everyone can own this. Mostly with its main tagline being, not for you, for everyone. This inclusivity is almost alien in comparison to other brands in more ways than one. Including their outward inclusivity, they are also very structurally inclusive, being both black and queer owned from the root, including campaigns designed around black and queer models. I mean shoot, the owner is a black queer Liberian from the Bronx with the last name Clemens. I don't think we can get much more diverse than that. Telfar truly showcases one of the best forms of activism, as they do it subconsciously rather than feeling like they're forced to off of an initiative or something like that. They just do it because they love to do it. That's who they are inside. I think the key takeaway here is that it's truly proactive rather than reactive, as that's who they are from the core. I love that about them, always.